How's it going? How's it going? It's been a while. It's been a long time, actually. Today, working on the bug eye, of course. So, here she is. Here's how she sits. We are currently trying to install an aftermarket fuel pressure regulator, which I have over here. This bad boy. Boom! Right here. It is AM. Kind of nice. But I don't have a parallel fuel rail system on this, so we're kind of doing a custom fab kind of way, So here's the stock one. So we got to pull that guy out, put an adapter in. I spent a couple days looking at it. I was originally going to mount it over here, but that would have been a lot of work trying to rearrange the 3-port. And then I had to look out for my custom fab box here. So we came up with a solution, and that solution is taking the old mount for the Cobb filter. Geez, why is that so glary? There we go. The old mount, this guy here, and we're gonna fabricate it. We're gonna try this first, but mount it here over to this guy, and it'll just kind of sit in there like that. And then I got to figure out how to route the fuel pressure regulator. So this guy here, he has 2 ports. So there's this guy here, that one there, and then you got your outlet. So when I mount it, it's going to be sitting like this. So I got to route in and then route out. And then this is for your gauge, which I got one on the way. And then that is your vacuum line, which is super easy, especially with the setup I'm doing, because I'm gonna be so close to the stock line that that's your vacuum line right there. So I am just gonna take a new hose and plumb it from there down, up and over to this guy, which will be sitting in there. I guess that's not. Oh, that's gonna be a pain to get to. Anyways, this should be sitting something like this in there. But again, I have to kind of angle it and look out, because this is the exit or the outlet, and that's supposed to leave enough room for my barb fitting that I got and route down there. So hopefully it'll have less leaks from my original idea, because there would have been a lot more barb fittings and hoses connected together, and it would have just been a pain. But that's the idea for now. We're working on that. Gotta fab that bad boy up. And then I also just moved the E85 Innovate Motorsports sensor. So I used to run it from here. I just did a quick route from there to there, just to not spend a whole lot on hosing. But with the big STI intercooler I got, which is right here, this is off of 2018. It's a little bigger than stock, so stock is probably about that big. So it takes up a lot more room, and it was kind of crowded just having the gauge or the sensor right there. So I ended up moving it over, and now we have plenty of room. It doesn't even mess with the battery at all. So I'm super happy with that. I did some janky stuff though, routed it there and there, trying to protect it, don't want to rub through, because that hose was expensive. If you know anything about fuel hose, it's expensive. Because I wanted R9 O'Reilly's, kind of dumb. But yeah, I wanted R9 fuel hose, and I bought some from O'Reilly's a year ago when I did this. I went in there a couple days ago. They told me they don't carry that stuff, and I brought that hose in, and they're like, oh yeah, we never carried this. I was like, oh, I bought it from you a year ago. But the best they could give me was R14, because they didn't have R9, and R14 is supposed to be better, but it's also more expensive. It's a couple more dollars more. It was like 10 bucks a foot instead of like $6-7 bucks a foot. So, but we're scooting along. So I'm gonna actually have to go buy more fuel hose because I use the majority of it, which these fittings are a pain. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know if I got too big of a fitting, but it took forever. They're not on all the way. They're at least over the 3 barbs. But I spent 10 minutes getting the first one on, got it on, realized there was a cut in the hose, had to cut it completely off and redo it, which actually turned out better because I just cut it here, and before it was like out here. So that would have been a funky, weird setup. I would have probably had to chop it off anyways. But it took forever to get them on. I was using soap and water, heated up the hose with a torch, which I think was a bad idea. I even sanded down the barbs a little bit, but it still took like 15 minutes of huffing and puffing to twist that thing on. So I did that, took like an hour break, and then did the other one because I exerted all of my energy. But the build's going well, so just, you know, last 10% takes 90% of the time. So that's something I've heard, and I'm definitely experiencing it right now. So, but let's get to building that bracket. Okay, I just bent the bracket. So as you can see, it's mounted there. I just kind of test fitted, and it's right over that bolt, or that spot where the bolt's gonna go. So I gotta mark this hole, chop this guy off, probably paint the end so it doesn't rust, and then I gotta figure out where on this bracket to mount the regulator. Okay, so after some fabrication, you know, the best of the best, you know, in the West, this is what we got so far. So I accidentally screwed up the holes for mounting the fuel pressure regulator, so I had to etch that one out. And now I gotta find bolts and mounting hardware for it. But look at this bad boy. She just bolted in that bottom one there, and then the top one bolts in, and then she sits right on there. I think that's one of my best fabrication pieces in history, because I've done a couple other ones. I guess you won't be able to see it, but there's one for mounting the turbo. I have this return line, which I got a aftermarket oil return line down there, and I had to cut the stock like up pipe mounting bracket. That was pretty sketchy. And then what else did I fabricate? Yeah, I fabricated the airbox. That one's also pretty bad. That one's all plastic, but it's kind of gross, but it'll work. I actually forgot one more that I fabricated. This one I'm proud of. This one is intercooler bracket, so I'll show you that one real quick. I haven't really filmed anything that I've been doing, so haven't really gotten into the YouTube stuff, but you know, new year, might as well try. So especially with GTA releasing takeover stuff, I want to try and influence people to get away from that and not go for that, because that's going to get the car scene shut down forever. You won't be able to race or do anything like that. But this guy mounts on there like that and just extends the bracket, because the one that's on there right now, this guy is the stock one. So that's for my intercooler that only takes up that much space. This one extends out so I can mount the whole thing. But I'm proud of this one because this one came off of the STI transmission that's in here. This is for your downpipe. So this has a little hook in it, and that's supposed to bolt to your downpipe to support it. I got a custom exhaust, doesn't have that hook. So, you know, chopped her up. It was 2 pieces of metal pressed together. You can see the little guy there. So I had to split it apart, chop down the end, smooth it out, paint it. I actually just gave this one a fresh paint job just to clean it up before install. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna start making more videos just to kind of show off what I've done to a Bug-Eye WRX, because I feel like, at least I struggle with this. When I go on YouTube, I only find people that like rip their car around. I don't really find like informational videos on like how to do stuff. And if I do, it's really old and either bad video quality or something like that. So I've done almost everything to this car that you can with like the stock setup, besides, you know, I changed out the transmission for a 6-speed. But this is still an EJ205, which is a bad mistake. Don't do what I did. I'm gonna make a video on this because I want to tell people not to do what I did unless you're trying to be a dummy. But yeah, I'll make a video on that. Let's continue with this, because I know some people are probably watching to see how to actually install the fuel pressure regulator, so they don't want to sit here and listen to me just ramble on about shit. So it's been a couple days since that last clip, just because it's been raining and I needed to paint this guy. I didn't want to do it inside, so I was just gonna do a little bit of spray paint, and that's how it turned out. It's definitely not the best, as you can see, because I kind of scraped this up. So the paint's not going to cover it unless I did a ton of layers, which I'm not going to do. So now I am waiting on the fittings, and that's going to take a couple more days before I finish this project. So I'll have to work on other stuff. I am currently working on some rust converter under here. Ooh, look at those sexies. Dang it, boy. But there's some spots that had rust, so I was just gonna rust convert them and then also spray paint them, because I don't want to buy the proper paint yet. I'm probably gonna pull this whole thing apart in like a year or two and redo all of underneath, you know, rubber coating, full like automotive paint under there. But I'm not gonna do that right now. Just temporary fixes, you know, some band-aids. But like I said, I gotta wait a couple days for this, so the next clip is gonna be a couple days from now. It's been a couple days, but the fittings are in. This is where I got them, is anhosefittings.com. These should be good fittings. I'm not too concerned with it, but they're definitely cheaper than some other websites. They should work good. But now we got to get the stock system out, which is right here. So you unbolt these two, and then I got to pull out this hose line here. So I just want to say it's really nice having a Bug-Eye. So they're getting more expensive, but working on them isn't that bad. So I just was able to quickly remove this. Granted, I don't have coolant in this car yet, but now I have access to everything. So I can quickly get this out, but then like you can just access your hoses, you can access your injectors, which are down there. Hi, sexies. So it's really easy to work on these things. So the quick and easy way to do this is pull those 2 bolts, come under here, and pull that bottom fuel hose clamp right there. And then it should just pop right off. And I forgot, you have to remove the, oh God, that's bad quality. You gotta remove this air hose right here, or vacuum hose. So if I just pull up, pop off there, and I should be able to just yoink. Oh, okay, I might have to. So Subaru hose clamps are kind of annoying because you have to pull them out almost all the way to the end of their thread, and push them apart because they don't want to unclamp. So that's exactly what's happening here. There she is. She's out. This is what the stalker looks like. So now we got to throw the adapter in, which looks exactly like this, and then we got to use the fuel hose. Okay, so it's out. Here's the stock system. That's what it looks like. Put this bad boy back in there. This is the aftermarket setup. This is everything I bought for this system. This is what she's supposed to look like. So when she's in there, she'll be mounted like this. We got the two ports here, the inlet and the outlet, and then we got the plug for the other inlet. So this is also how you adjust it. This is for your vacuum line, and then I went with the Turbo Smart gauge. So there she is. And then we got the Tomei, or IAG, not Tomei. We got the IAG adapter, so this will fit right on there. This is kind of like the stock unit. So like that base, they're pretty similar. So this will sit on there, then we'll route a hose up to this guy, and then this will go back down into the return. So to show you, most people in most videos you find online are from newer Subarus, so they just mount their system here. They usually go with full AN line to route it from there to there, and they usually have parallel fuel rails, which I do not. I still have factory. So what I'm gonna do is just run it through the factory return line, and she'll be good to go, because then it'll go through my E85 sensor, which that's an Innovate Motorsport sensor, and that's how she'll be. I forgot to mention, I am not actually going to put this on yet, at least the gauge. I'm going to pull this back off just because I am going away for college, and this is about to sit in some really cold weather, and I don't know how it's going to hold up, especially since there's liquid in here and there's a rubber seal. So I'm just going to keep this inside where it should be a little warmer, and it should hopefully be good. So I'm just going to put the bung right here, this little bung, back in the hole to seal it off. Okay, so I did all this planning and work. I think it looks pretty dang sexy if you ask me. The only problem is I didn't account for how high that sticks up, as this was my limit for the hood. So let me do this. It's pretty bad. She hits by a lot. So I personally think this spot, spot's pretty good, but I would suggest not using a gauge. If you had an inline sensor that you could use like somewhere over here to monitor your fuel pressure, I'd suggest that, but we're gonna try something else on this side. I built this custom box because I didn't want to pay like $180 for a Cobb air box. or however much they are. So this is a factory box that I chopped up, and then I did a janky job of putting other plastic in here. So this will just slide in there. So because I use the same base as stock, it'll fit, but put that back in. I'm gonna see if I can mount the fuel pressure gauge or the fuel pressure regulator to this guy, which should be the cap of it. So like that. I'm gonna try and mount it here because that should sit a lot lower, and this should be stable enough. So this is what the air box looks like. So that's kind of my factory fit. So I gotta see if this gauge can fit down on here and be totally fine.